Hey everyone, it's Mr. Vargas here looking to help out Math 8 with homework assignment 9.1, and that's going to be about scatter plots. And this is coming from page 671 from your course textbook. Alright, I want to keep this video really short and sweet and to the point, so let's just jump right into it. Number one, you pretty much just had to construct a scatter plot based on some XY values that they give you. Here, your years, so I guess I could just clarify, your years, and you can see this in the book, your years are going to be your X values, whatever they may be in that chart, and then your books, or number of books, this is going to be your Y value. And that comes from that table. And you guys can see that in your book, but here were some of the points, the XY values that you guys had to graph. And then 3 and 24. And so forth and so on. When you go to construct that, you should have your years in the X-axis, year right here, and then the number of books goes in your Y-axis, going up and down. When you graph it, it should come out to look something like this, what I've drawn here for you ahead of time. Alright, and that's all you had to do for that one. Let's jump over to number 2. Number 2, interpret the scatter plot of the data for the amount of paint used to paint signs of various lengths based on the shape of the distribution. So what they kind of give you, I'll zoom into some empty space right over here. The way that this scatter plot kind of looked is it started out really close to the x-axis, you had a bunch of dots here, and then it kind of like curved up, and I know these are like really bad dots, but bear with me. And then you had one outlier that was like right over here. Okay, and these are all supposed to be dots. So this is kind of what your scattered plot looked like in your picture, or sorry, in your textbook, with this being the length of sign in feet, FT, and then your y-axis was your paint used in quartz. Man, I cannot draw today. Okay. You guys get the point. This is in quartz. Alright, so if we wanted to interpret this scatter plot, there's some quick things that I noticed. The first thing, that this is a positive association. It's a positive association because it starts out with our x's being very small, and as our x's increase, our y's increase as well. So it's definitely going in the positive direction. So we've got a positive association. The next thing that I noticed is this is kind of a curved scatter plot, meaning it's non-linear. It's non-linear. And you can see with the trend, if we zoom back in on the data points, they kind of make a curve going upwards. A straight line would kind of pan out something like this right there. Once again, that would be a straight line. And this data curves up. So this is definitely non-linear. Another thing that you can point out is that there's a cluster of data between 1 to 2, 3 feet used and 1 to 3 quarts. Actually, let me change that. 1 to 2 quarts of paint. That's a really bad 2, but you guys can make that adjustment on your paper. So if we look over here, there's a cluster of data. Lots of data points right in this area. And then the last thing that I noticed is that there is one outlier at 8 feet and 1 quart. And that outlier, the weird one, it's like the odd man out. You can think of that as an outlier. The one that doesn't really quite fit in with everything else, and that's this point right here. That would be an outlier. Okay. Nice. So that's it for number 2. Let's go and jump down to number 3. Number 3, I will let you guys construct that data plot, that scatter plot. But it should look something like this when you're done, and I'm not going to give you guys the exact coordinates because I think you guys can figure that out. You guys have gotten pretty good at graphing points, but when you're done, it should look something like this. Some points here, and then we see a trend going upward. So you can probably already imagine that this is going to have a positive association. And this one is definitely more linear as well, just by looking at it. We can kind of draw one line straight through it. So part B, interpret the scatter plot of the data based on the shape of distribution. So there we go. I've already mentioned it, but you can really quickly put the scatter plot shows a positive linear distribution. No real clusters or outliers. This one's kind of evenly spread out, so and there's nothing really unusual about it. So I'd put no clusters, or outliers. Okay, and then for part C, I will go ahead and let you guys figure that out. If a relationship exists, make a conjecture about the test score for a student who studied for 60 minutes. So based on this chart that you are given, 60 minutes is somewhere over, if I were to extend this, 60 minutes is over here somewhere. And at the peak is 100% of the y-axis. So if you had to make some type of conjecture, if a student studied for 60 minutes, what would make sense for this student's score based on this data and where the data is headed? All right, good luck, and I'll see you back in class.